Hey guys, Peter here from Reddit now. I've got a much longer video lined up for you today, so get yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax and enjoy the video. Also, please make sure you're subscribed as I'm trying to grow the channel and it helps tremendously. Alright, let's get into it. Rich groom plus poor bride equals entitled parents. This happened a few years ago, and to be fair, they weren't the worst couple I've had to deal with in my career, but even so, they were a-holes to work with. So, the backstory. Well, the groom was a rich businessman from the UK that was marrying a single mother from Africa. Based on the ways their families conducted themselves, it was clear to say their backgrounds were vastly different. I had been hired to do the wedding video. I was shooting alone, rather uncomfortably I might add, as I had filmed a different wedding the day before and all the service providers had gotten a light case of food poisoning. Their wedding was on a Sunday, and as I'd been hired by the bride side of the family, their budget was fairly limited. Therefore, all pre-ceremony coverage had been cut from their package. I arrived about 30 minutes before the ceremony to see the groom cussing out the DJ about something, I don't actually know what. The ceremony started and didn't add much to the story. The bride's stupid lawn pin, which is my company's name for kids, was screaming throughout the entire ceremony, making it impossible to hear the sermon and making me feel oh so happy knowing I was going to get tasked with trying to clean up the audio after. Oh, the joy of wedding videos. Cut forward to after the ceremony, with everyone gathering for the couple to sign the register. The couple entered the room and saw something so horrendous that Hitler himself would have shielded his eyes, something so devastating to their moment that not even God would have had a solution. Right there, right where they wanted to sign, there was a book lying on the table. Get the manager straight away, this book has to be removed, the a-hole groom yelled to the closest person in earshot. It took me a moment to register what had just happened before I took a step towards the table, simply picking up the book and putting it back on the shelf. So you'd think this would be the end of it, right? With Satan's obstacle now removed, they could simply sign the papers and get on with their life. Nah, this had upset them so much that the room had to be cleared while they took some time alone to rant about how inadequate everyone is and how the book has ruined their entire day. I'm not even joking, they really did say that the book had ruined their entire day. So, eventually, the damn register gets signed. The two most dramatic people in the world are now husband and wife, and everyone is standing outside, waiting to throw them with confetti, or maybe hand grenades if there was any justice in the world. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait some more. Finally, the door opens. We wake up from our afternoon naps on our feet, the guests hold their hand up ready to throw, only to see the MC walk through the door and announce they won't be coming out, as the bride doesn't want the wind messing up her hair. If I had rolled my eyes any bigger, they would have come out of their sockets. Why? Because the bride, not the groom, but the bride was from this area and she knew the wind never stops blowing. Did she think God was going to pause the weather for her while the rest of her guests stand outside burning in the sun for almost 15 minutes? Anyway, move forward to the reception. The couple shoot and family photos had been postponed to later because, for some reason, the bride thought the wind was going to change. This meant that everyone now entered the reception hall more than 90 minutes earlier than the schedule had stipulated. So, what does the groom of the year do? He goes and yells at the wedding coordinator that the first course isn't ready yet. Needless to say, this caused some major panic in the kitchen. I should further point out that this wasn't your average 3-course meal. This was 8 freaking courses. So the schedule was something like this: speech course times 8, the opening of the dance floor, bouquet and garter, etc. I did my setup quickly as the first speech was about to commence. Only one problem. The number of guests was way too many for the venue's capacity, so there was literally no way for me to get anywhere near the bride table or the podium where the speakers would be making their speeches. I set up as well I could, a basic 2-camera setup, and took a stand behind the main camera. During the speech, I glanced in the direction of my second camera, only to see the bride's child trying to climb up my tripod. How the camera didn't fall over might just prove that there is a higher power up in the clouds, but nonetheless, I sprinted towards it, grabbing the kid before he could knock over the camera. I put him down, telling him politely not to touch it. The camera had moved during the kid's action, and was now no longer pointing in any relevant direction. I glanced back at my main camera, only to see that the speaker was no longer standing behind the podium, and had gone to stand directly behind the couple. I had missed it completely. I sprinted back to my main camera, readjusted the shot, glanced back at my second camera, only to see the damn kid aiming to try and climb up it again. Once more, I sprinted back to my second camera, picked up the camera, and set it right next to the main one. This was the most boring setup ever done in my career, but it would have to do. The speech eventually ended and the first course was served. I was the only person / service provider not catered for because honestly, who cares about the videographer? To be fair, this didn't bother me because I wouldn't have been able to eat anyway. I was still feeling like death and really just wanted to rest for a short while. I waited for the guests to start eating before spotting a sofa at the back of the venue and deciding it looked like a great place to rest. I had just sat down when I was approached by the a-hole groom and the child. Groom: "What are you doing now?" Me: immediately back on my feet. There's really nothing I can shoot at the moment, so just waiting for the speech. Was there something you needed? Groom: "Yeah, please watch the stupid kid." And yes, he really did describe his new stepson as the stupid kid. Me: "Huh?" Groom: "Yeah, just keep him quiet and make sure he doesn't disturb the guests." Me: "What about when the speech starts?" "Thank you," the groom said, walking away without answering my question. I looked after him with pleading eyes. This wasn't happening. The kid stared at me. I stared back at him. He continued to stare at me, and then started wailing his eyes out. FML, I thought to myself. I looked around frantically to see if any of the kid's relatives were going to come help, but nope. Giving in to my fate, I climbed down to the floor, opened the kid's backpack, and started unpacking his toys. The kid stopped crying quite quickly as I let him show me his favourite toys. Skip forward about 15 to 20 minutes, the kid and I were in the middle of an intense dinosaur battle when I heard the next speech starting. I had asked the MC to give me a 2-minute warning before each speech started, so that I could have time to set up my cameras again. I unfortunately had to move them out of the way every single time as to not block the traffic flow of the waiters. He forgot every single time. I missed the first few seconds of the speech as I redid my setup, only to hear that the kid had started wailing again. I glanced in the direction of the couple, who were both staring at me with daggers in their eyes. I stared back at them with a look that said, "What the hell do you want me to do about it?" and left the kid to cry as I tried recording the second speech. The speech ended, well, I assume it did. The lawn pin was yelling so loud that I never heard it end, but I'm sitting here typing this story, so I think it's a fair bet. I moved my cameras away again, and moved back towards the couch when I was bombarded by the couple. Bride: "Why weren't you watching him?" Me: "Because I can't play babysitter and shoot your wedding video at the same time." Groom: "Well, I told you to watch him." Me: "And your wife paid me to capture your day on video. Again, I can't do both." Bride: "Well, that was very embarrassing for us." A silence followed this, with me and the couple just staring at each other. Me: "Are you waiting for me to say something?" "Just go do your job," the groom snapped before stomping off with his new wife. "Which one?" I yelled after them, once more being ignored. The rest of the reception played off more or less the same, until I was relieved of my babysitting duties by the bride's sister, aunt, mother, hairstylist? I have no idea who the hell she was, except that I now had to share my sofa. So the reception finally ended. I felt like I had just aged 10 years, and it was now time for the family and couple photos. But what was this? Their praying had helped nothing, and the wind was blowing even worse than before. Now, at this point, any logical bride would have probably been asking herself some questions. Specifically, what difference is it going to make if my hair gets messed up now, as almost everything has already been done? And what is the point of even having my hair done if I'm not going to take any decent photos? The bride didn't ask those questions though, and therefore insisted that all her photos, couple and family, take place on the porch, on one single, small spot on the porch. So the shoot went like this. I finally get them in frame, and the main photographer blocks me. I try a different angle, and the second photographer blocks me. Hell, I didn't blame the photographers. This was like trying to fit 6 people into a matchbox without taking out the matches. There was simply no space for all of us, and the couple had left this so late that the light was disappearing by the second. If this poor photographer had 20 minutes for all the photos, then I'd be surprised. The next thing to do was getting all the guests back upstairs for the opening of the dance floor, but the photographer and I had about an hour left on the clock, so we were at least doing well for time. The photographer and I started back up the stairs to do our setup, but were suddenly stopped by the MC. The MC informed us that the bride was tired, so she and the groom were going to retire to the honeymoon suite and would return in about an hour for the opening of the dance floor. The photographer and I looked at each other with that kind of WTF expression, but shrugged it off and went to wait upstairs. News of the couple's temporary departure quickly reached the guest, and within less than 30 minutes, the entire reception hall had been emptied with the exception of the waiters, bar staff, photographers, and myself. Another 30 minutes passed with no sign of the couple returning. Both the photographers and I were now off the clock. The photographers waited another 15 minutes before literally saying, "F this," and leaving. I wanted to do the same. My god did I want to do the same. But the video I had taken so far was so bad, it was nightmare fuel bad, and I simply could not bring myself to leave without at least capturing the opening of the dance floor, and so I continued to wait for another 90 minutes. Finally, the couple returned, followed by around 10 or 15 guests, all of whom now wore their casual attire and looked like they were ready for a night at a dodgy nightclub. And then I heard the words that finally made me lose my patience. MC, the couple isn't going to open the dance floor anymore. I stared at the couple with a livid expression on my face as the hip-hop music started playing. The groom took to the bar and the bride started throwing grotesque dance moves with her grotesque friends, all now wearing scantily fitting outfits. Seeing this, I picked up my gear and walked out of the room without saying goodbye to the couple. I did, predictably, get an email from the groom a few days later, telling me to remove all the lawn pins crying from the video, and that they expected the video to be a true representation of their day. That, I can say, it definitely was. Now look, the wedding day is obviously about the groom and the bride, but I don't think it warrants such selfish behaviour from those two people. I mean, the way these guys were treated was just so, appalling. So if you ever get married, make sure you treat your service people better, hey? Okay, that's the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It wasn't actually as long as I thought it might be, but make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on one of the videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds. See ya.